All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:30. Roll call. At-large Cummins.
Here.
At-large Postian.
Here.
Ward 2 Helm.
Here.
Ward 3 Johnston.
Here.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Cummins, seconded by Postian.
Johnston.
Yes.
Helm.
Yes.
Postian.
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes. Okay. Next is the communications portion of the meeting. If there's anyone present who would like to address the council on a subject other than the properties, now would be the time to do so. Larry.
Oh, a lot of you may have been noticing that we're celebrating 100 years of the Tipton High School building this year. And we've been promoting a lot of the Tipton businesses that have Tipton graduates operating them on that Facebook page. And that's been very popular. A lot of people are clicking on that they like that. So we think it's a good way to promote the city of Tipton and the fact that we've got a lot of graduates that are doing good things for the city of Tipton. So tonight, we're taking a photo of the city council because there are some members that graduated from Tipton and other graduates. Amy and Brian are here tonight. I don't know if there are any others, but that will show up on the Tipton High School 100-year celebration Facebook page. So if you're not following that, you might want to do that because one of these days you'll see these people on our Facebook page. We're having a banquet on August 9th. That information's been readily available. If you really want to go and can't figure out how to do that yet, let me know and I'll fix you up. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Larry. All right, is there anyone else? No? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. These are routine items that will be enacted by one motion without separate discussion unless a council member requests separate consideration. Approval of the council meeting minutes from June 16th, 2025. Approval of the use of the north parking lot of the courthouse for Cedar County Public Health, Health and Wellness Fair on August 1st from 9 to 1. Approval of the Downtown Revitalization Incentive Program request for Milligan Acquisitions at 513 Cedar Street. Approval of the Tipton Revitalization Incentive Program request for Tipton Chiropractic and Health Center at 200 West South Street. Approval of the appointment of Karen Anderson to the Library Board. Approval of the Animal Housing Services Agreement with Muscatine Humane Society. And approval of the claims register, which includes claims paid under the current purchase policy.
Motion approved. Second.
Okay, motion by Helm, seconded by Johnston.
Helm.
Yes.
Postian.
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to public hearings, I have two of them tonight. The first is the public hearing on a proposal to enter into an electric revenue loan agreement and to borrow money thereunder in a principal amount not to exceed $2,125,000. Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Cummins, seconded by Johnston.
Postian.
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Helm.
Yes. We haven't received any comments prior to the council meeting. One thing I want to point out is the amount that was stated is nowhere near what we expect the actual debt to be. As you know, from past situations like this, we aim high, just so we don't have to deal with aiming low. So I don't think it's going to be anywhere near this, and I'm hoping it will be nowhere near this in order to be feasible along the terms that we've been looking at. That's all I really have for the public hearing.
Any questions from council, comments?
Motion closed.
Second.
Okay, motion to close by Cummins, seconded by Postian.
Postian.
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Helm.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the second public hearing is the public hearing on the proposed sale of city-owned property. Motion to open.
Motion. Second.
Okay. Motion by Helm, seconded by Postian.
Cummins.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Helm.
Yes.
Postian.
Yes. And on this one, we haven't received any input either, at least prior to the public hearing. This has to do with 801 Locust. The couple that had been awarded that property with their proposal has withdrawn. And the council is considering then, plus there's a resolution in the city business portion that would award it to Nissen Builders. In that he would have the same proposal that he had originally, except that the purchase price would be more in line with what the couple that withdrew had proposed, so it would be $4,000.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion to close.
Close.
Motion by Pashton, seconded by Helm.
Cummins?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Helm?
Yes.
Pashton?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to city business. First item is resolution number 070725A. Is the resolution taking on additional action on a proposal to enter into an electric revenue loan agreement and to borrow money thereunder in a principal amount not to exceed $2,125,000.
There's been an established timeline of a number of things that have to happen, but the passage of this resolution gives the authority to go into the agreement for the revenue bonds. And again, these are not repaid by property taxes. This is paid for solely and only revenue from the electric utility and from the project in particular, the solar array project. So if it stays in line with what we think is viable for the project, and I'll let you know. This gives off authority to go into the loan agreement.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Pashton, seconded by Helm.
Johnston?
Yes.
Helm?
Yes.
Pashton?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
Second item is resolution number 070725B. Resolution authorizing the sale of city-owned real estate.
This again would finalize the action with Nissen Builders for 801 Locust. It still has to have a purchase agreement and all the other steps that all the other proposals do have to make, but this changes the arrangement from the couple that withdrew to Nissen Builders.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Pashton, seconded by Cummins.
Helm? Pashton?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
Johnston?
Okay. Item number 3 is discussion and possible action concerning clarifying the length of the urban revitalization tax exemption for Rosh villages, 7 years or 10 years.
Yeah, I did a synopsis for this. I don't know if you've all had a chance to look at it, but I can go into it further. But what I recommended in the synopsis was to keep it at a 10-year exemption rather than a 7. In discussion with the county assessor and we decided to leave it as a council decision. It's been promoted ever since the tax exemption was approved. It's been promoted as a 10-year. And I think it would cause confusion if it was changed from that. So I recommend keeping it at 10 years.
Make a motion to keep it at 10 years.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Pashton, seconded by Cummins.
Pashton?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Helm?
Okay. Fourth item is discussion and possible action concerning heat and air conditioning for the West Mechanical Room at the James Kennedy Family Aquatic Center.
Okay, Ray.
As you know, a couple months ago, I gave you guys a heads up about the West End. We had no heater here on the whole mechanic room, and separate from our storage room. We had two basic industrial fans and a fan going now. Can't get below 5 right now. It's so hot. So, did the Frank Foster Kraus. They've done a great job. And then those are updated ones too, because the ones we got were in January, February, we received these bids in March. So some of them got up a little bit, but one's at 80,909, other one's at 88,600. So.
Is this a new problem, Adam? Remind me.
No, the new unit that we have on the roof is just only monitors just the indoor pool.
Okay.
And then, right how many years ago we did heating air conditioning inside, but that doesn't. That's just a basic heating air conditioning. On the west side, we have that stainless steel. That's why it's so much because of all the.
And we've never had heating and air conditioning on the west side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's we have full heat pump on that side, but they no longer function.
Gotcha.
I'd like to add a bit of a clarification to this item, and then the next item is also aquatic center. In both, in the synopsis for each, it mentions that the source of funding to pay it is lost money. I was asking Melissa about that earlier today. She wasn't here today, but we spoke about it on the phone. Just so everybody understands, when the city received the settlement check related to the situation with HBK, lost money was reimbursed. So there is lost money available for both of these expenses. So I just wanted to clarify that.
I'll make a motion for Foster's Place.
Motion by Cummins, seconded by Helm.
Cummins,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
Bastian,
Yes.
Okay, and then item number 5, is the discussion of possible action concerning the ADA lift for the lazy river at the James Kennedy Family Aquatic Center.
Okay, back in 2005, as long as you had a handicap lift, one per facility, you could utilize it for all 3 levels. If you have one huge pool, you use one. When you long, then you could use one. One vessel is fine, but as soon as it's in, now you have to have one per vessel. About 10 years ago, we got 2 new handicap lifts with big, like a 12 by 12, like 12 inches deep continental anchor. And then the one we still have, 20 years old, we still use the Lake River. By code, you have to have a handicap lift per vessel. Try to get parts for the old one. I mean, I was told you stop by and took a look at it. It's unrepairable. So I contact Carico and then contact the other couple. They did, Brian, I was going to tell Brian, 2-year limited warranty on parts and 5-year limited warranty on stainless steel deck and motor and everything too. So there's a warranty on this, but the one that we're replacing is 20 years old. So, but we have to have it. So that's. And I try to get parts for it, try to mess with it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Johnston, seconded by Cummins.
Johnston,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
Bastian,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
All right, next item is discussion and possible action concerning the fuel tank cleaner for power plants. I think John has a
I brought a sample
visual.
of,
You guys want to hand it down?
inspection. That's our fuel with the sediment that's in the bottom of that. As in my write-up, we have 2 tanks, one in the north, one in the south. They're for both plants. The one in the north does not have any water in it. The one in the south does have water in it. We can go, we're just short of an inch of water in that south tank. Once we get to an inch, the alarms go off. Once we get to 2 inch, then we start sucking water into both power plants. I was telling Brian, the new power plant is a lot more picky, a lot more bells and whistles in there that will shut down engines when they have too much water. The old one, we can let her run, she'll probably bang and not be nice. derate ourselves a little bit, but it would keep running. We've had the problems fixed on both these tanks in the past years. I think 23 was the last year that we had our last repairs done. It was containment and neck problems that were allowing the sediment and the water in that tank. Those have been fixed. We have a compliance test coming up at the end of the year. We like to have this taken care of before that. Like I said, we're just short of an inch of water in one tank. Another thing is we want to fill the tanks from our 2 long runs we just got over in that heat wave. We fill them now, it's just more fuel we have to clean. So we're about half of what we can take right now. This is kind of the time to do it. I don't know what their timeline is to come in and do the work. I would reach out to them and see when they're available, but at least bring this up to you now instead of filling them then doing it. Brian has some other information.
Yeah. Kind of common in their agreement. They have language about limit on liability. It says their limit on liability is $50,000 or the amount we pay them, whichever is less. So if they make a mistake and causes damage, the amount of their liability is $5,436, and that's just, we shouldn't do that.
No, agreed.
You know, at a minimum, we should at least have them strike the part about the lesser of the ones and have 50,000. You know, if they have confidence in their company for doing good work, they should have enough confidence.
Right.
Yeah, that shouldn't be an
provide
issue.
that.
I agree. And like I said, I thought I'd let Brian bring this up, and if you guys want that, I can reach out to them. If they'll
Yeah.
rectify that.
Yeah, just always remember, Ron, go on. Look at the limit on liability, what they're doing, because a lot of times they'll do something like this.
Yeah, I would not be comfortable signing that contract with that kind of language. Just FYI.
So like I said, I can reach back out to them and get that ironed out with them. I can bring this back to you.
Oh no, if they want to approve it with that contingency, then
Okay.
it can go ahead with the mayor signing if they just strike out that part of it.
If you guys are good with that. See if I'll strike that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the council. I mean, that would be my preference, yes.
Okay.
Or change the amount, one or the other.
And this is a budgeted item.
Yeah, this will be in our budget.
I'll make a motion to approve with them striking that out of the language.
Amended contract.
Yep, the amended contract.
Okay, motion by Poston, seconded by Helm.
Helm,
Yes.
Poston,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. All right, next is discussion and possible action concerning moving the August council meetings to August 11th and 25th.
We have a number of overlapping locations, and we thought it would be more workable with those, with the way everything's scheduled, if it could be moved to those dates.
I will not be here the 11th. But you guys don't need me.
Well, we need everyone else.
I could potentially call in. I'll be in Florida, but I could potentially call in.
I will not be here on the 25th. We have a home swim meets, and I run those. So.
That one's not an issue.
Should
So
be
the dates work for the rest of you for the opposite.
So far,
Yeah, they'll have to. That's why I'm bringing
Yeah,
it up. I'm
right.
like, they'll have to.
I put it on my calendar already when I saw that. So, I mean, I intend on that. I
Okay.
can't promise that I can call in on the 11th.
Well,
until
as
I
long as the
know
other
for
three are
sure.
here, we should be okay. But Luke is out the 25th, Mike, so you still have to be here.
I'm sure. Well, for you to see.
Yeah. Okay. So is there a motion to approve that change?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Helm, seconded by Cummins.
Postian,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Helm,
All right. Next item is resolution number 070725C. Resolution scheduling a public hearing on proposed amendments to Chapter 166 of the City Code, creating a public use zoning district and amending other zoning provisions related thereto.
As Doug mentioned in his cover letter, in the current city code, if property is annexed into the city, it comes in automatically as R1, single family, which means that our goal of annexing the area of the solar array site and the wastewater treatment operation would become R1, and they would become non-conforming uses. The proposal here is to create a public zone, which I think the original idea was Terry's. It would take area that it wouldn't count for any public property that exists now. It would be for public property meant for annexation. So when it's annexed, then it would come in as public use. And then the ordinance that Doug attached, the draft ordinance, would be would say that among the eligible activities or uses in a P zone would include a number of public type buildings, including a solar array and a wastewater operation. He gave a number of next steps on page 2 of his cover letter. I want to propose that we fill in the blank for when to hold the public hearing as August 25th. At that point in time, it really won't matter. The solar array will not be completed. And when we told the county that we plan to bring it into the city, we asked for 6 months, so it'd still be within that time frame. But again, I want to get away from the period of time when these vacations are happening, getting past that, because along the way and before the public hearing, we would have to have a meeting with planning and zoning that would run the draft ordinance past them for comments and a recommendation to you. So my proposal then is to have it on August 25th. It requires a 7 and 20 day notice, so we would have a goal of running it in the newspaper in the August 13th edition. And at that point, then you could look at annexation either on the night of the 25th of August, or if you look at the meeting following that, it would probably be September 8th. In the past, we've moved Labor Day to the following Monday, and it looks like in September, it looks like it's a 5 Monday month. So if we went to and just changed each by a week, it looks like it would fit. Now, I don't have September's dates on the agenda, but that's just how it would play out, I think. So what I'm asking for tonight is to set the hearing at your meeting on August 25th. Motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Helm, seconded by Cummins.
Cummins,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Helm,
Yeah.
Postian,
Yes.
Okay. Last item under city business is discussion and possible action to select a preliminary most favored proposal for each of the 4 city-owned residential lots, with each proposal being the subject of a public hearing and final decision at the council meeting on July 21st.
Okay, on this, we've already set the public hearing. You have to, now this one has a 4 and 20 day notice, so we have to run that again. We ran it the first time as a way of advertising the availability of these next 4 lots. But we would also then add to that public hearing, if you come to a motion tonight on who you want to select for each lot, that would then become part of that new or that revised public hearing notice.
I think it may be most efficient if we started with 102 East 11th and 323 West 8th, because they both have just one bidder,
Yep.
one bid. So in your packet should be, if you haven't already done it, should have divided these out before I. There we go. I got it. Sorry. So, Casey, do you have anything you want to say to the council? Oh, sorry. You are. I'm like my glasses on. Sorry. I saw long brown hair and I went this way. Sorry. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Casey? Jerry, do you have any questions for Casey?
Yeah. I noticed 105 Mulder, I wrote down, yeah. Are you waiting for the other one to get
We haven't gotten the.
what's that?
We haven't gotten the deed.
You haven't gotten the deed yet?
Really?
No.
Okay, good to know. Well, that,
How many properties does she have? Will this be? She only has one from the last round,
yeah,
right?
105 Mulberry.
That's what I thought.
And it was in his hands last, so. Just like I'm waiting.
Okay, good to know. Can we check on that?
I'll check.
Okay. No, I got signed to a purchase agreement a long time ago. I thought that was probably done.
Yeah, I had.
Okay, good to know. We'll get that figured out.
Yeah, if you would please. Unless I'm in on it. Then.
Are you doing motions separately for these, or are you going to do them all at the end?
I think we did separate motions last time, didn't we?
I can't remember.
I think we need separate motions, right, for each property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will make a motion for those two. Or
So one motion to award Casey Smith 102 East 11th.
East 11th and 323 West 8th.
Okay.
And I can do them separately if you want, but I'll make the motion for each of them.
I think. Do you want separate motions, Brian? Do you think we probably did? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was thinking that. Too.
Motion 1 and motion 2.
Which address do you want on motion 1?
Good question. 102 East 11th.
That one's first.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll motion that one.
Okay. So motion by Cummins, seconded by Johnston to award Casey Smith 102 East 11th Street.
Johnston, Helm,
Good.
Bastian,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes. And I'll make a motion for 323 West 8th.
There a second?
Second.
Okay. Thanks, Luke.
Johnston,
Yes.
Helm,
Yeah.
Bastian,
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Okay. So the next two properties, 403 West 3rd and 205 Spruce Street. I think a couple of them, if I remember correctly, that have a couple of them have just 403 3rd Street, and a couple of them are both
Correct.
properties.
I think, yeah. You want to do Spruce Street?
Um,
Since it's the easier of the two.
yeah. So let's start with 205 Spruce. Let's do it next. Oh, I looked at them. Sorry. I should have picked up them differently. Yes, so there are two bids for 205 Spruce.
Yeah.
So what was it gonna build on the 205 Spruce then? Just say it wasn't clarified.
The one they were gonna, I thought they said they were gonna build and potentially, and potentially the one, I don't know, are the bidders here? Do they want to speak for themselves? Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to
I
just,
couldn't hear what it said.
I tell you what, it doesn't say what you're gonna build here. Would you can build single family home on that?
Yeah.
On 205?
Yeah.
Okay.
But can you describe what you have in mind?
Well, it kind of depends on what happened on 403 Third, so I've got bids on both. Obviously it's still bid, so I don't know. I felt I came in a little strong on 403 Third. I was hoping to get them both, so then I could decide what I could go to the assessor and find out exactly what's going to hold true as far as the lot line description, because there's both of them have an issue according to the description. The garage and the slab belongs to 403. According to the lot lines, it belongs to 205 Spruce Street. So depending on that situation, if I own them both, it might change my mind. There was one thought, if I had them both, to just put a single story home, just a small home on 205. I also thought about a story and a half and or a 2-story. And it's so hard to decide until I see exactly which I end up with or both of the properties. It appears that just from a walk around, the newer foundation on 205 Spruce, it's very likely that is more than usable, and obviously would help things greatly. We wouldn't know obviously until the demo and inspection and engineer if needed to decide that. So there are some variables in my mind depending on which I end up with or both, so to speak, on which way I'd want to go there. If I want to keep that one because I have the big one out front, or if I want to make it a 2-story, so there's more bedrooms involved. We have 2 families in town. I'm not from Tipton. Actually, our kids were raised in Walcott, and I grew up in a small town in Illinois. My niece lives right across from 403 3rd Street. And about 4 years ago, when I first came to Tipton, she said, "You really ought to be thinking about buying this house next door. Somebody like you needs to get this house, make it nice and well." And so I said, well, I kind of joked it off a little bit. I said, who knows what's going to happen with it. And then my son from North Carolina sitting here, we bought 211 West 3rd Street. I bought that for him to remodel. His wife is a NICU nurse up in Iowa City. Just got a transfer from North Carolina. So they're remodeling that one. They're going to get a loan in their name for that. So I've got a 2-year-old granddaughter on West 3rd and 2 great nieces, a great niece and a great nephew on West 3rd as well. So I've done several through the Quad Cities. I've built I've general new homes. I've had community for 12 houses on 4 acres. I've had individual homes. Everybody, all the neighbors, we always do a really good job and
make sure it's done properly, obviously with code and time frame. So I know that there is it's definitely a need for somebody that doesn't mind, the dollar isn't my main goal. Obviously, everybody is here to make money, but obviously, I've been well known to go above and beyond. I also in restoration, and I've been called on many homes as a witness where flippers will cover mold, or throw kills on it, or throw a new drywall on it, not cut something out, or try to get by and cover something up in the basement. But that's not all my style. I know too much about what's right and wrong, and so that's why I'm here, I guess, is to see what I can get done, and hopefully, if I get one or two of them, and obviously move forward. I'd like to have them both, so I don't end up in a big lawsuit. Which one is right on the property line, or which one's right on the description? But that was my goal of coming in. I'm hoping how high, at least on one of them, and not both.
Do we need to have a survey done on that to clarify that?
I was just going to ask Terry that. So, Terry, do you see any potential issues for either buyer in dissolving that property line if that's what they want to do?
No, all you have to do is get a survey from the property line.
So that was Jason's question: was do we need to?
It was created because I think when that house was originally built, it was all one lot. I don't know.
Well, 205 Spruce was moved there.
What's that?
205 Spruce was moved
I
there.
know it was moved, there has a new foundation. That foundation was put in the 80s. It's got brick foundation. So yeah, that was had to be split back then. So you can just dissolve that property line by getting a survey.
If the same person owned it.
It's the same thing.
Correct.
But do we need to have that resurveyed since there's different
We
people? Well, I'm just saying if there's two different people that buy that parcel, is that going to cause an issue between the two?
That's a civil matter. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Between, different property owners.
Richard, when you mentioned that part of one property goes over a lot line,
Yeah.
where did you see that?
So it's on two locations, sir. It's on the it's on the assessor's website.
Yeah.
It's on that, and then also if you pull up like a real estate, like a Zillow, they both show the exact same thing, but it's actually on the assessor's website. If you look on the assessor's website and you look at the visual property line, it does show real clear that the property line is right to the north of the slab and belongs to the spruce. And if you read the assessor's website on West 3rd Street, it clearly states in the description that there's a 12 by 22, or don't quote me, a cement slab that had a garage on it. It clearly states on the description that that's it.
Okay.
So, and like he said, I understand that's not per se maybe a matter here, but it's definitely going to be a matter.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, those aerial photos that are on the beacon site, they're not a substitute
Sure.
for a survey.
Right. So that's the case.
Yeah, I mean,
We would just have to, again, like I said, just have it surveyed.
Yeah.
Whoever ends up with it, and even if it's both, I want to survey so I knew exactly what, just to clarify, I guess, that it is one or the other. But I don't doubt what you're saying.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I just thought it was odd that, it was a potential discrepancy.
Yeah. Well, I guess I have a question for the council, and maybe you want to look at both properties separately, but is there any interest in hearing Richard's proposal for combining and any other proposal for combining and see what you think, or do you want to look at both separately still?
Well, the other bidders,
Yeah, I guess the other ones are looking at rehab, aren't they?
yeah, so
Yeah.
they would have to say what their thoughts are. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. There are others that just.
But
wanna look at the one.
there's two bidders
Yeah.
that were looking at just the one. Does that make what he's talking about with that property line? Did you guys see that? Did you find an issue with that, either of you? And
Yeah,
what did you have thoughts about that?
I mean, I just.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into it.
Okay.
Terry, tell me
My
that.
experience with like when the accessory sites, like with one of my properties, a lot of times they're not correct and you actually have to have the surveyor come out and then they'll pin the, or they'll mark the pins and then that's what they go off.
I think that would be Terry's recommendation too. Is for formal survey, not using the beacon aerial views for a property line.
And would there be any reason that either of you would be changing your bid or withdrawing your bid because of this issue? Any of you?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't have a vote, so you guys decide
I
how
don't
you
know
want
where
to.
we go from here. I'm not, I'll be honest with you, I was not going to recommend both of them tonight. So, just so you know.
Abby, with that comment, if I could, I found hundreds of property pins over the years. I don't mean to delay the process, but if it helps, I'd be glad to go down there and line with the city metal detector and see what. Usually the pins don't lie. Maybe sometimes they do. But if that helps at all, I can take a look.
On my, when I had looked at the property, Terry, he made a suggestion about joining the two lots and making one a garage. Would that even be a possibility with the city, or do they absolutely want two houses?
That's probably up to Terry. I mean, it's not a problem from a code person. No, I think he recommended that to multiple people.
403 Third Street's only like 75 by 85 a lot. That's close to the size of that house. Like I said, before they moved that house on 205, it was on that new plan, they split that lot. I don't know who looked at it or who approved it, but it probably shouldn't have been.
So that being said, it would definitely, if the property, if the description of 403 Third Street is correct, and that slab goes with West Third Street, that definitely helps that property greatly and diminishes the other one. Kind of, she said, we thought about putting a third bid in of, hey, this is what we'd like to do as joint, because we actually talked about that with Perry as well, the garage. Obviously, you have to go pre-slab, you have to raise it pretty high to do that. There's a few issues with that can be done, but so if that's the case, then maybe there should be a consideration of a bid put in as a joint venture, so to speak, if that is a concern in that small lot. I would understand that, not upset about it, I would understand the theory behind it, but at that point, we ought to be able to regroup and put a joint bid in for both properties to be joined as one.
I
did separate. You can or combining the two, whatever was thought.
if that's a thought, I would recommend that the other two have that option to put that in as well if they wanted to. I wouldn't want to make a decision without them having an option on that. If that's even a thought.
Did either of the two of
Combining
you
those
talk to
lots.
Terry about combining those lots when he showed you the properties?
Conversation.
It wasn't. Oh, okay.
We did, but we were under the understanding that you had to remove the whole foundation as well. So that's why we didn't.
Oh, at 205 Spruce.
Gotcha.
was my correct, it'd be two options. You'd either have to remove it or you do a precast concrete for the floor.
Yeah, or fill it in.
Or build it,
Fill it
correct.
in with sand or lime and,
And come back.
or add it without. I think that house is 24 wide by 30 feet deep. So it made that would use the freestyle garage. Doing asphalt.
And was it ever decided whether or not 403 Spruce could have a garage based on city right of way and property frontage?
Yeah, it'd be pretty close to the house. I think there's enough room along with, Spruce Street. Put a garage right up next to the house. How that would work and how it would look. Yeah, it would be open.
That doesn't exceed our percent. What's our percentage for how big a garage can be versus a house? Because I see the house is only listed at
Well, you get your
thousands.
Your garage can't be bigger.
I thought it was a percentage, like 75%.
But, oh, well, we did change that, didn't we, Ryan?
Yeah, I don't remember the percentage, but it,
15%.
It's 50%.
So that's
But is that considered an accessory building if it's attached to the house?
No, it's not.
See?
That's the house, it becomes part of the person's structure.
yeah. So that changed since I've been on P&Z. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, both of the lots are small.
Yeah.
You're talking about, depending on what the bidder wants to do with the home, you're also talking about increasing the value or the cost of the home to the buyer if you're making a bigger home and a bigger lot. The person that they're going to try to flip this to is going to be paying a lot more as well.
Well,
Right?
Tristan wants to live in it.
That exactly. And that's
So-
where
I don't think any of them are flipping it.
Yeah, all of them are.
they all are.
Oh, they are.
And Tristan is the way I
Tristan's
would
the
go.
only one that's not.
I'll just
Oh, no,
throw it out there.
Casey's. Yeah. So I think
I
Casey
thought it
was.
said,
Unless I have to.
yeah, I would say, I think the only one that looked definitive as far as keeping it was Tristan, and that's where I lean. I leaned towards Tristan on that one, and I leaned towards Nyland on the other. Just so you know, that's where I'm at. If anyone cares. So you guys can speak. I understand what he's saying. I just like the idea of keeping a young person in town in a home that wants to be here.
Tristan, with knowing that you could possibly do that to the garage or asking Austin for that, did that change your mind on wanting the other? Would you want to make another bid with buying both of them?
I just think of one.
Just the one? Okay. Nope. That I just want to ask you both. So
I mean, it was definitely a thought beforehand,
right.
but then, well, we thought we had to remove everything.
So now that you know that changes your scope of what you're thinking a little bit, right? Is that what you're
I
saying?
mean, how long do you have to put something back up?
What did we have in there?
3 years, I think.
3 years. Yeah. I'm just asking so we can get some clarification. What's that?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
If the lot can be changed and the pin can be removed, one lot, and that turned into a garage, it's well worth $5,000 for the foundation. If the foundation is structurally sound, it can be used, but it was our understanding that everything was complete demolition and then start over. Which changes the whole cost.
Correct.
Substantially.
Mhm.
But if you could backfill it, turn it into a garage, then that changes the thought on what that you would probably want to do with it.
On the backfill, the cement floor have to be busted out of the foundation on spruce. For
The
grading.
basement
Yeah,
floor?
yeah, the existing basement floor.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think you could go ahead and fill in.
Right.
Getting both properties, the timeline good on that though? You had both properties? I'm talking, yeah.
Are you asking Tristan?
Yeah, which one here?
The young one, Tristan.
Yeah. Now, if you have both properties, the timeline's good on that. If you have to tear down both the one place and backfill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're trying. That's not two houses. Yeah, I understand. Well, I was just wondering because I know right now it's R1 and you can't just have a garage on the lot. So correct, you would have to.
You'd have to dissolve the. You'd have to dissolve the property line.
Right.
Well, if that changes what he's thinking, do we set it out so you can bid on both at the same time, or do we just go with this?
That's where I'm at right now.
Well, I don't want to pressure you guys.
I don't either.
If you
No.
feel like you would want to put a bid in for that, I personally think that you should have time to do that. But I don't want to pressure you and make you feel like you need to. So I don't know what we do because I feel like, like.
Well, if you're going to do that, you'd have
on
to
you
put
right now.
You'd have to probably put both properties on hold at this point.
Correct.
If you get rid of the property line, yeah.
But I think it would be up to the purchaser to dissolve the property line. I don't know that that's
Correct.
a city responsibility. So,
agreed.
I mean, obviously, city is going to have to be involved, but it's currently two properties selling at two different.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have to award both of them, and then whoever is awarded would have to work with Terry to dissolve the property
They
line.
would still be purchasing them as two separate lots.
Correct.
So right now we have one that wants to buy two. We have two people that want to buy both properties.
That's right.
Now.
Correct.
And I'm just saying if the other two, which we know that one does not, but if the other two wanted to put in a bid for both of those, I think that they should have that opportunity. But
right now, if I could ask, when you said right now, you would like to work one with one and one with the other. Which one would you?
I was leaning towards you for Spruce, and I was leaning towards Kristen for the Third Street. Tristan intends to keep the home for himself, and so that's where I was at.
And that's honestly mine. I know you, Austin, too, but I know when I first graduated college, I needed a little help from somebody, and I was able to get that too. So that's kind of my feeling also. Then again, I don't want any hard feelings between me and you, but that's kind of my feeling is I know Tristan's going to stick around, so. So I don't care what we do here.
Yeah, and if you want to proceed, that's what my motion is. So I guess I can do that. I can throw the motion on the table, or
You put the motion, just hold off on both properties.
or I can do that if we think that that's what.
Fair. Let's give the young guys a chance. I'm definitely all for that.
You for that? Okay.
Now
There's no reason not to do it.
everybody showed their cards with their it was closed bid,
Right.
so that changes things a little bit. I mean,
Right.
that's up to you guys. I'm just
I don't.
kind of curious how this is going to play out now.
I think that all the bids that are there should stay there, and then Sorghum Fry would just have to put in a bid for the other lot if that's what he wanted to do. But we could also just do.
And what
So
they're
this
also
isn't
getting a young couple in town.
prices
Yes,
that we've seen.
for that.
Yep.
So that's what I mean. You can
Yeah.
everybody's seen that. So
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
that,
Exactly.
Yeah, I think everybody ought to be able to sit there.
if we're going to, that's the way we should do it.
I don't think you can limit.
No,
Should or you shouldn't. And
But then are you going to put it out for a completely new RFP? You're going to.
that's up to you folks. If you want to work with the current bidders, or if you want to put it out again.
I'd say work with the current bidders.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to put it out for him.
Well, that's why I'm asking because I mean,
Do we have
if you're going to put it out
do
again,
that?
you're going to probably and you want to do it that way, you're probably going to have to rewrite the RFP to include both properties. So they fill out one RFP for both properties. Otherwise, you're going to have to just.
Can we work with the current bidders that we have right now?
I think so.
Can you put out an RFP for just 205 Spruce? Because that's really
It's already been out.
the parcel
That's
that's
the
in question.
It's already been out.
Right, but I mean for them,
Oh,
or just the current bidders.
no, I think we would just give them an opportunity to rewrite their RFP for both properties if that's what they wanted to do. Can we legally do that? I assume
I would think so.
so.
Yeah, you have to, you probably have to, for all the bidders or entities here, you probably want to open up both lots to proposals because there's still gonna be 4 more houses. Now, you know, the factors changed. But you want to set it up so that they can propose on one combined or both? Or are you more interested in limiting it to one combined? Sounds to me like you're more interested in one combined, but I guess I'll leave that up to you guys.
I personally am not necessarily interested in one combined. I'm just saying if that's an option and they want to take that, that's what, then I would like them to have that opportunity. However, I would, if it came back next week and the bids are the same and they choose not to bid on Spruce, I'm still going to say that I would like Sorgenfrei to have the other lot, regardless of the other ones wanting to combine. If that made sense. Are you following me?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I am too, at the end of the day. Coming in with what we had, the 4 homes, after reading through everything, Mr. Sorgenfrei wanting it for himself, it's just like last time, it's a no-brainer to me. If we want people to be in the community, we want people to live here, that's what we want, so I don't care either way, but I'd go the same direction too.
We're gonna go forward.
So I guess I would say if you have no interest in bidding on the other one, you don't need to, in my opinion. But if you would like to bid on the other one, I think we can open that up for you to bid on that together. I know that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I guess with everything that's up in the air, with like if the foundation would even work, or if we would be able to keep it, or if we would have to tear it out. And I know for a fact that the line would be a problem, because I would just be able to diminish, but then you would have to redo, right? Or else you would have to attach it. Yeah.
Hold on that
That's
thought.
true.
Hold on to that thought 1 second. Can we just table it so that he has time to think about that?
No, I think about like.
Or do we not want to table it for that long?
Well, that's what you could probably. She's asking if we can just table 205 and 403.
That way he doesn't have the pressure of thinking, and I don't want him to make a rash decision.
Think about what's.
Yeah. I don't want anyone to make a rash decision. So I'm just wondering, can we just table it, leave it like it is? He has time to think about what he wants to do. We come back and we're at the exact same spot that we're at right now.
You're talking about just freezing all the proposals with
Just those two.
for those 2 lots.
For those 2
Yeah.
lots.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Can
give
we do
them-
that?
You want to specify that you're not looking for modifications or variations. They're frozen where they're at right now. You motion that, table it on that premise, I think you can.
Okay, that's what I want
But
to do.
does that give, if we freeze it as they are currently, does that give him the opportunity to rebid for both properties if he wants it? Because that's not really freezing it if you're going to allow it to.
No,
No.
it's not.
No.
I took it that he wanted to freeze them as is in order to think about them as is.
I don't have to get on
I was gonna say okay. I just didn't want to make him feel like he needed to bring a bid in next time either, though. You know what I mean? That's why I was wondering about tabling. But if you feel confident in that, then we can move forward, and I'll make a motion for Sorgenfrei for the West Third and Nyland for the 205 Spruce. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Oh, hang on, we need to do motions for each property.
Oh, yeah,
individually then.
sorry.
So start with a
Which one do I
motion
do
for
first?
205 Spruce.
205 Spruce. I motion Nyland.
Okay, so motion for 205 Spruce to be awarded to Richard Nyland. Motion by Cummins, seconded by Helm.
Johnston,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
Bastian,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes. I will make a motion for a Sword and Fry for 403 West Third.
Motion by Cummins, seconded by Helm to award Tristan Sorgan Fry 403 West 3rd Street.
Johnston,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
Bastian,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Okay.
Just so everybody understands, this doesn't make it final yet. This,
Correct.
Right.
makes what the council's come up with on these 4 lots will go into a new public hearing notice. And then on July 21st, we would hold a public hearing on the 4 outcomes that they've concluded with tonight, to see if any of you or anybody out there in the public has a problem. If a public hearing occurs and nothing happens to change the council's mind, then they could pass a resolution that authorizes the city attorney to draw purchase agreements and someday get you a deed.
And there still is 4 more houses, right?
5. Yes, there are 5 more.
5? Okay.
But they're all salvageable. There isn't any, the last 5 are not demos. They're all salvageable.
I didn't tell what they said. There would be contractors we had in this town, all of the roads that. Work with Austin on his house, he just finished up the big room for a in his house. And I've also worked with KTV on several properties, they all do real good work. And if they don't get one of these properties, really hope they come for the next life.
We do have a question though, on the ones that don't have to be demoed, like my daughter lives in an apartment in Tipton. So me buying one and renting to her, that's different than if she were to purchase it herself, I get the money to purchase it. I'm just wondering if that makes a difference. And
I don't think so.
No.
I think you're good.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else regarding the properties, we'll move on to reports. Any, Brian, do you have anything additional?
Just to remind the council that whatever way you want to proceed, you probably should start the process, or at least thinking about the process, my replacement.
Mhm.
Just so everybody knows, I'm planning to retire as of December 31st. And so I gave the council a 6-month heads up to decide how they want to go forward.
Yeah, I suppose I suppose it's up to me to initiate that, right? So I think probably I will have individual conversations, since we can't all talk about it informally. So I will probably have individual conversations with each of you, and then sort of bring a summary of consensus to like a formal council meeting for us to make a decision on how we're gonna
You
move
can
forward.
also take those comments if you want to the personnel committee.
Right. Yeah, that's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was assuming that I wouldn't have any great role in this, but to whatever degree you need me, I would be available.
Yeah. Okay. So is everybody okay with proceeding that way? Yeah. Okay. Anything else, right?
No.
Okay. Council?
Fair week.
Yes, it's fair week.
Fair week.
Fair week.
Everybody
It's
go.
fair week. Fair week. The only thing I was just going to mention is we had the employee appreciation lunch 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
We ended up having it here because of the rain, but I think it I think it went over well. Employees who were here, maybe, maybe you can say otherwise, but it's not what you heard. Well, I didn't have cutesy decorations like I did last year because it was pouring down rain.
No piñata.
No piñata. Yeah, you had to just make do. Yeah, go ahead.
It's been a long meeting, I'll make it quick. AMI is automated metering.
Mhm.
Bringing you an update once or twice a year for years. We started putting money away in the CIP long time ago. The one biggest holdup has been all the way back to COVID and the supply of the material. We're already vested in census technology. Many of our meters throughout the town were census years leading up to this, so we've continued down that path. We have a base station in a box at the water plant, $38,000 value. It's ready to be set up. We have money in the antenna that's on the tower. They had to have some work done. Something has changed recently. That's what I'm here to report. The supply is now finally available. That's a development in recent weeks and months that now they can get us the stuff to build it. The good thing about taking so long is we were able to put away a fair amount of money. So most of this is saved up for in advance in the CIP. Now, we took bids for budget building purposes several years ago and again a year ago, and there's a stark difference in those bids. Okay, there's several factors here. One, there's a lot of AMI install companies for single utilities. We have 3. It makes sense to make an arrangement with a house, go into that house one appointment, put in 3 utilities, right? So we're looking at companies that are willing to do all 3: gas, water, electric. One stop, one appointment, get it all done, bring the info to city office, do the swap out for information. That limits us. We only have two bids. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting, the bids going all the way back to 2 years ago, we've recently reached out and they're still willing to honor the same price. What I don't like is there's a $300,000 difference, almost 50% difference from low bid to the high bid. The low bid is high in contingency. The high bid is low in contingency. I would like to think we could find a way to even that up. The bids that we have weren't intended to come to council, so we have time and we have the ability to work on those. So we're working with Municipal Supply like we have for years. They're making a lot of the arrangements. They're helping us with the arrangements. And so I don't know if we could potentially do a no contingency spec or a max 10%, but this unlimited contingency or all these lines and lines and lines of contingency make me nervous. I got a feeling that low bid could end up being the one that costs us the most, but I don't know that. I can't prove that. So anyway, that's what we're looking at right now. So we may decide to have an in-house meeting yet, I think, and try to answer some of these questions, see where we can go with getting these bids where we're comfortable with them. But I don't know where we'll find a third contractor. I may only be able to bring in 2 bids. But we'll look for more in the meantime. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Brian. John, Brad? No? Lisa? No? Okay. Terry, do you have anything else? Okay.
Motion closed. I mean, to end, to be
Adjourn?
To adjourn.
Okay.
I've lost it. Oh, shoot.
So motion to adjourn by Cummins,
I don't know what I.
seconded by Poston.
Helm,
Yes.
Poston,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Johnston.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Photo op.